Hey YouTube, I'm Jacob Cook, back to talk again about just about anything you could want to know about enlisting in the Air Force and the whole process that goes with it. In this video, I'm actually going to talk about MEPS, and oh boy, MEPS. That was a fun time. No, it wasn't. No. Anyway, for any of you who don't know but who are thinking about enlisting, MEPS is basically where you go to take your ASVAB, which is your military aptitude test. I'm sure most of you know that already. And then you also do like all of your physical stuff there. They'll draw blood, have you piss in the cup for them, all those fun things. And anyway, I have a feeling this video is going to be pretty long because I have a lot of stuff that I've written down to talk about relating to it. So I mean, who knows? I might even have to break this up into a two-parter. But anyway, I guess I'll introduce you guys to a little bit of info on MEPS. First off, it's not a fun place. It's definitely not. You can just tell the people who are there. If they're civilians, they hate their job. If they're in the military, they hate their job. You know, they're not having a good time there. Well, scratch that. There were like two guys there who were having a good time. The rest of them, though, were not enjoying themselves at all. I went to MEPS back in June, so it's been a little while. My memory might be a little bit rusty on some of these things, but I feel like I still have a good enough of a grasp on everything to be able to make a video about it and give you guys a little bit of heads up. Anyway, I'll give you guys a little bit of a breakdown here. So the day before you actually do like all of your physical stuff at MEPS, or at least this is how it was for me. It could be different for you if you do your ASVAB at a separate time. But anyway, you'll go there the day before. I drove down to my MEPS in Minneapolis, and you take your ASVAB, which is a little bit of a process, and then on top of that there were a few other small tests, and I can probably make another video about that later if you guys want me to. Just say the word and I can do it. And then after that, what they'll do is they'll call you, okay, or no, actually no, because I drove down there. I drove myself to the hotel that they have you stay at overnight. And so you'll check into that hotel no later than 7 o'clock. If you don't get there by 7 o'clock, I don't know what happens. It's not good. I can tell you that much. They might just not let you check in. That could really screw you over. And anyway, so once you're at the hotel, you check in, you sign your name on this roster, and then you'll go set all your stuff that you have with you. You know, you'll probably have a backpack with like a change of clothes or whatever, toothbrush, basic stuff like that. You'll bring those to the room that they give you, and you know, at least for me, I didn't meet my roommate right away. I met my roommate later on that night. But it's kind of cool how they have you in the room with a roommate, because that gives you a little bit of an opportunity to talk with someone else who's going through a similar experience. And I actually kind of lucked out, because the guy who I got as my roommate, actually, he was joining the Air Force, and not only that, but he was joining through my recruiter as well. So, and I had no idea he was there, but we had a lot of common ground just to talk on stuff that night, which was nice. And anyway, after you set your stuff down in your room, you can sit back and relax for a little bit. I chose to call my parents just to let them know what was going on and all of that fun stuff. And after a while, you can go down. You have a little like dinner voucher that they'll give you, and you go down to the restaurant at your hotel. And what they do is they'll like be like, okay, are you here with MEPS? Yes, I am. Okay, do you have your dinner voucher? Yeah, here you go. You'll hand it to them. And they'll sit you down at a table with actually a menu that was made specifically for people who are going through MEPS. And it's a more limited menu, but at the same time, that's probably a good thing, because it kind of limits some of the stuff that you really shouldn't be eating the night before you go there. And they'll also ask you if you want to sit down with like another potential recruit, and you can either say no and just sit there on your own, or you can say yes and they'll sit you down with like one other guy, or a few people who are going through MEPS the next day with you. And so I opted to do that. It doesn't make sense to me to just kind of sit there on your own and eat your meal in silence. I'd rather be talking to people and seeing what everybody else makes of this whole process. And then after dinner, at least the hotel I was at had like a kind of club type room for all of us to hang out in. They had like Xboxes and card games, laptops you could use to check the internet, things like that. Nothing too fancy, but it was kind of nice. And again, that's more chance to be able to talk to some people who are going through this with you. Anyway, I forget what time curfew for your room is. I want to say it's like 9 or 10 o'clock. You can get in some pretty serious trouble if you're not in your room by that time. And I mean, I would suggest getting to sleep as early as you can. I think it took me until like 11 o'clock to fall asleep. And then the next morning you wake up at 4:30 in the morning, which is a little rough if you're not used to it, but it's just part of the deal. And so you'll shower up, brush your teeth, all that fun stuff, and then you head down to the lobby by 5 o'clock in the morning, and that's when you have breakfast. And one note I'm going to make right now about breakfast, and I'm going to hammer this. I'll probably make another video with just like tips for going through MEPS. Do not drink a ton of water. If you're worried about that piss test, don't worry about it. I wasn't even that nervous about it, really. I figured, peeing in front of someone wouldn't bother me anyway, but just to be safe, I drank more water than I usually would in the morning. And when you get to MEPS, they make you wait a long time before you can take that piss test and, finally relieve yourself. And a lot of guys in that room were squirming, myself included, and it got really bad. So don't drink a ton of water. Also, with breakfast, another tip, I would avoid lemon poppy seed muffins because I've heard that they can actually trip drug tests unnecessarily. And I did see lemon poppy seed muffins there that morning. I don't think anybody took any of them, which is probably a good thing if what I've heard about them is true. Anyway, shortly after eating breakfast, they'll shuttle you back into the lobby, and you'll wait around for your bus to arrive. Your shuttle, as they call it. It's literally just a school bus with a designated driver for people going to MEPS. And you take your ride down into the city or wherever your MEPS station is, and they'll line you up on the sidewalk or the front steps leading up to it, and they'll file you in, and you'll go through security, all that fun stuff. You have to take off your belt, take anything out of your pockets, and run it through a scanner. And then they line you up again, and they'll be calling people. They'll be like, okay, if you're leaving for Navy boot camp this morning, please step forward. Or if you're leaving for Army or Air Force boot camp, or basic training, I should say, step forward. And so they'll have those people step forward, and they'll shuttle them off to their own designated offices in that building. And then they call out everybody who's going forward for just plain MEPS. And so it's like, okay, if you're here for Army, step forward. If you're here for Navy, step forward. Marine Corps, step forward. And then they'll tell you to line up. Funny little story, too, is that when I got called, actually, the guy called Air Force last. And he's like, okay, you guys in the Air Force, you can go to the front of the line. And I found out it was because he was former Air Force, and so he gave us a little bit of benefit there, which was kind of fun. About as fun as MEPS will get. Anyway, this video is getting long, so I'm going to cut it off here. I'm going to make a second video with more info on MEPS and more of a breakdown about what happens there.